Oh, thank you. Cindy today.
Good.
So we have some good news, I guess, to share, and there'll be a main focus of the meeting tonight, but we have an agreement with Minaj, and we're going to start work very soon and get into the details. So the agenda tonight, we have to approve the minutes as always. Tori took some notes from the pre-construction meeting with Minaj and Stone and Memorial Regional Planning Commission. And Cindy, were you at that meeting?
Yep.
Yeah, Cindy. DEC, and we can go over the results of that meeting. And I want to focus on, we discussed this at the last meeting, but now that we have the pre-construction meeting behind us and we have more specific dates as of a few days ago, that we could get our discussing a press release and front porch forum posts for the construction start, a rough timeline and sequencing, and talk about that. And Linda had some news on the recruitment of wastewater commissioners. A lot of work on that front as well. And does anybody have anything else they wanted to add to the agenda?
I don't know if it probably kind of goes into some of my agenda items and updates anyway, but I'd like to discuss kind of a adult / change order request for the school, which is specifically adding sod on a small portion of the project, and just kind of get the committee's feeling on that, and then maybe circle back with Linda, depending on how everyone else feels.
Okay. Yeah, I know we've kind of talked about it, suggested it in the past as an alternative. Obviously, there's the extra cost factor that we have to discuss.
Yeah.
All right. And Bradley, you're here, right? See you're on board. See your nice graphic there. Even better. I know we have hard copies of the minutes here. Are we gonna scroll or do we? Bradley, do you have a copy of the last month's meeting minutes? Oh, I can't hear you.
Yo, yo, yo.
Gotcha.
All right.
You have a copy?
No, usually I bring up the meeting minutes on the computer there using the website.
You can bring it up on your end.
I can, I guess. So let's see.
Or we can scroll.
Love scrolling.
Want to scroll?
I don't know if I've got permissions to share.
well, we were gonna maybe scroll for you, but if you have a copy, you have a copy of it.
Oh, I'm looking at it on the
Oh,
website.
okay, great. So it's just, Bradley, it's just me and you and, Alan as far as our, voting committee members. We do have a quorum, but Linda and Bruce are not here. Were these AI generated or
Or TH generated.
TH generated? What's TH stand for? What's that?
Tori Howick.
Oh, okay. Sorry. I thought it was some other form of AI. Okay, do we have a motion to approve the minutes from June 23rd?
Sure, I'll approve them.
Second.
Alan seconds. Any discussion? None. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Minutes are approved. All right, Peter, we'll just jump right in to
All right.
last week's meeting. Do you want to start there, or does that make sense?
Yeah, sure. It's been a whirlwind of a week and a half, so bear with me. Yeah, last Tuesday we had our contract signing and pre-construction meeting with Minash. LCPC attended, Cindy was there. It went well. I think we, started to dive into some of the details around construction and construction sequencing and, specifically what Minash is thinking. I'll jump into a few of those details in a minute, but then later in the week, we also had a kind of a kickoff meeting between Minash and Oakson, starting to talk through some of the details of the drip dispersal installation. And then lastly, yesterday, I had another meeting with Kate, the principal at Wolcott, and Joe Houston, the school district's facilities guy. So starting with the pre-construction meeting, and Tori, feel free to jump in with any missed details because this will be pretty high level at this point. Minash is starting with some erosion prevention and sediment control setup this week, specifically some silt fence installation. They're also going to be out there tomorrow working on some layout of the disposal fields. Alex will also be out there from our team, ensuring that the layout of the disposal fields is correct. So by the end of this week, they should be kind of mowed and ready to go. They're slating construction, the disposal fields to start next Monday, I think. And they gave us sort of a preliminary schedule that laid out how
Peter?
I think we froze.
We froze? How does that happen?
Somebody came up that said the internet's unstable.
this is our last meeting. I know it hasn't been that many weeks.
Peter,
Yep.
sorry, we lost you. We had an issue on this end with the internet. Can you just go back? You were discussing construction starting next week. You just started that and we lost you. Can you start from there?
Yep. I don't know where I was rambling, but next week they'll start grading out the disposal fields. And they have a schedule that allows them to move pretty quickly to establish grade and get all the drip dispersal lines in and cover over with topsoil, seed, and mulch all by August 15th, which is kind of the deadline that we had laid out in the contract docs to ensure that the fields were ready for school.
At 50% or 100%?
Great. Yeah, great question. That was kind of my next point, was that Monash kind of decided to go the path of hitting the project as hard as they can in the coming weeks and just want to do the whole field at once. So it's going to be all 6 zones will be established before school started, or before school starts.
Oh, that's great news.
Yep. And then their schedule sort of from there, they'll be testing all of those zones with sort of temporary water supply. Monash, being in the water business, has plenty of access to water trucks and whatnot. So we'll bring the pump skids to the site and test everything with that without sort of the formal tankage, all the tanks that will hold the water and effluent, or the control building. And then as they move later into the August, once kids are sort of starting to come back and into September, they'll be focused on the rest of the parts and pieces, namely the control building and all the tanks, into September. So that everything at the school is slated to be done this fall, which is great.
And the principal was okay with the control buildings going in after the school started? Even
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. That was something we cleared with her even before the project went out to bid, recognizing that no matter who we hired would sort of be struggling with fitting everything into the school summer session, and also recognizing that the timing requires that those components be installed this year before any of the connections and the various properties actually can hook up. You obviously need all of that. So just to kind of reiterate, her general feeling was that because it's so far away from the school, all in all, it would probably be like a good educational experience for the kids to actually see a cool construction project happening. Obviously, safety will be a major concern and part of that. And we carried in our project that whole area will be fenced off so that we don't have to worry about kids getting in there. Once they've kind of established everything at the school, I think their sort of game plan is to start working down through the town forest and then School Street with the force main. There was a little bit of talk at the meeting about the potential for the project sort of ending up where we might have some connections this fall. I think that was left a little bit unresolved. I should say fall into winter. Currently, on their sort of preliminary schedule that goes through the end of this season, they have a shutdown right around Thanksgiving, maybe November 20th. And we all kind of agreed that we would play everything by ear, depending on weather and where they are with the project. We left the door open for potentially making some connections sooner than later, but quite frankly, I would be surprised if it ends up playing out that way. And I think they have plenty of work to do on establishing the force main through the service area, and even getting getting all the way through School Street by the end of the year, I think in itself could be a challenge. So I think we'll just kind of see how things sort of evolve. I think at this point, it might be a good time for me to jump into a little bit more of the fine details of the 6 disposal fields and some of the nuances of keeping the school happy and specifically establishing some vegetation. I'll say that when we put it out to bid, quite frankly, we were pretty convinced that from what we were hearing from most of the contractors, that the contractor would want to jump on the 3-zone option and kind of do as little as possible in that, summer window. So instead, we have like kind of the reverse challenge of Monash wants to do the whole 6 zones, and that's going to result in the entire field kind of being disturbed and also probably not having robust vegetation established by the time school starts. So we really only have about a week and a half from when we told them they needed to be done with the work to when kids will start arriving and being on the property. While I was on vacation the 4th of July week, Alex had a conversation with Kate, the principal, and then I had a subsequent conversation with Kate. And she pretty much indicated that they don't need that much of a play area really. And that the one disposal zone that sort of wraps around their play structure was probably, for the most part, sufficient to like give them adequate area to play and do their activities. She also, when we had Joe Houston, the facilities guy on the line yesterday, they sort of advised a plan where he would mow more of the area towards the tree line to kind of open up some additional play area away from the construction zone. So that we're kind of working in both directions there. But what I concluded after my conversations yesterday was that in order to really keep the school happy and set ourselves up for the best success, I think I'm proposing that we pay to sod the one zone that wraps around the play area this season as soon as Monash can get to it, because it does take a couple of weeks for the sod to actually get established. But I think we should do that. The overall bid alt for sodding 3 zones was around $50,000. So based on square footage, sodding just that one zone is about $15,000 extra to the project. And I think that's probably going to be a good $15,000 spent, recognizing that budgets, are going to be tight, but it just seems like that's a good faith effort that we could be making. So I guess I'd open that up to the committee to see if folks sort of agree with that. I think, Kate's pretty easy to work with and deal with, and it's not a hard line like you guys need to do this or anything. I think the kids will be fine either way. But we're going to be hard pressed to get grass to really be growing in that week and a half or 2 weeks. And I think once they're out there playing on it, it's going to get even harder. So it's going to be this weird situation of, not really having an enjoyable area for them to recreate and do their activities. So any thoughts on that?
So Peter, just you mentioned something about 2 weeks. Does it take the sod would arrive 2 weeks after they're done? What was the 2-week thing that you mentioned?
The 2-week thing, and I didn't realize this until we started talking about details, but I always thought you just kind of rolled out the sod and it was ready to go. But it turns out that you kind of need to give sod a couple weeks to establish itself and start to integrate with the topsoil underneath the sod. So, so the thought is, if they could get the sod, and I did bounce this idea off of Jimmy at Monash today, who was the superintendent, and he seemed to think it was likely feasible. The thought would be if they could finish that particular zone, or as they finish all the zones, if their first focus was to sod that area kind of before they finish topsoiling and seeding and mulching the rest of it, we could buy ourselves another 3 or 4 days, and actually have that 2 weeks in advance of the kids getting there. The other logistic that we'll have to work out is just kind of ensuring that that sod gets watered, especially if we end up with a dry August. But preliminary discussions suggested that that really wasn't a problem for Monash. And I know Joe and Kate are both very supportive, so I think they could, probably help us figure out how to make that happen.
Yeah, why don't we pause there and open this up for discussion? I think this is important. Personally, I think it's well worth the money. It's a good gesture for the school. I think that we have the school kids' interests, and we want to make it as enjoyable and safe for the kids, and it'll go a long way, I think, with the principal, the students, and I think the school board as well. It's a good gesture, I think, even if it's maybe not 100% needed. But that's just my opinion. And I'd like to hear from everybody here in the room and on Zoom what your thoughts are, and then we would have to vote on that, I guess. And the question is, Linda's not here. And how do folks, can we vote today, or should we postpone that, but we'd have to wait another month, and that would delay this decision that I think needs to happen today, right? I don't think we're gonna wait.
I think if, yeah, I mean, you three are a quorum. I think if you all ended up in agreement, I think Linda should be involved in the discussion, but maybe there's a way that you guys could kind of settle on it today without Linda, or maybe not. I don't know. Just kind of throwing that out there. Maybe you guys open it up for discussion and see where you end up landing. I do think, I will say that Linda, I don't personally know how Linda feels about it, but she did kind of comment that she thought, $15,000 felt like a lot of money for sod. So
I think Peter, at the last meeting, that comment was related to the 50,000 and not 15,000.
Tori, did you hear that when she kind of commented at the pre-construction meeting?
Oh, at the pre-construction meeting, I wasn't there. I thought you meant our last meeting.
I mean, I think it's a little bit of just everything costs so much more than anyone thinks it should. And I think if you went through, I know I certainly go through our OPC and even the bid items, and just everything is so much more expensive than it would have been, 5 or 10 years ago. And it's kind of a little mind blowing. So I think there was a little bit of that going on. And I think she should probably get her chance to discuss at least with you, Jim. But I think if the rest of you could sort of express your feelings.
Yeah, I'd like to hear from everybody and see.
Right. If I remember correctly, I think tomorrow we have a select board meeting anyways,
Okay.
which if you want a definite yes, that would be the people to give a definite yes if you want one.
Well, I don't think we need a select board vote on that, but
Actually, thank you, Alan. That's actually a good point that I should make. Um, I think you are going to need ultimately a select board approval on these change orders. And Cindy, feel free to chime in if I'm misreading any of this, but one of the things I tried to get the select board to agree to when I was presenting Menashe's bid and recommending them for the contract, I tried to get the select board to agree to kind of give Linda the discretion at deciding on any of these adults, because I knew the likely scenario was that we weren't going to know if we needed the adults right away, and that they would likely become a change order. And I think you were at that meeting, right, Alan?
Yeah, I think with the amount of money you're talking about, it probably may hit and run into the purchasing policy anyways. So the select board's probably gonna figure it out anyways.
how about we do this? How about the committee members here tonight, we vote and making a recommendation that the select board approve the adult at tomorrow's meeting.
I think that
tomorrow's-
makes sense. I think that makes sense. And then Linda can,
So we're not officially approving, but we're recommending to the select board that we go with this one
you guys are frozen, huh?
adult. But if that's, I want to make sure that we're in, we haven't heard from, I want to hear what Alan and Bradley think, and also Cindy and Tori as well. But yeah, let's go around the room, if you don't mind. Bradley, what do you think, Bradley?
Sounds great. Sort it up. Well,
Sign it
sounds
up?
sounds great. Sort it up.
Okay. Tori?
It does seem like a nice gesture, and I think the question was also if it's within the budget, which it is, so. Consideration.
So you think it's a good idea? We're not voting necessarily, but you think it's a good idea. I just want to hear everyone's opinion.
I think there's another mechanism to do it. There's something called a small purchase, and what that would entail would be having Stone reach out to 3 sod suppliers in the area and get quotes from them. That will save on the contractor's overhead, and you might get a better price than what they had put in the adult. It also gives the sod supplier a little more investment in it to make sure that it does root properly. And I also think it would show to this committee as well as the select board that with soliciting 3 quotes, whether the number is high in the sky or reasonable.
Do we have 3 sod suppliers in the area?
Yeah.
We do, okay.
That sounds something like Michelle would, sound like our purchasing policy.
Yeah,
too,
and
so.
it would adhere to any municipal purchase policy. We do it quite often on construction projects.
So, well, I want to hear first. So I think there's a question of the mechanism. I'd like to hear people's thoughts just on the sod in general.
Yeah, I agree. Finish that.
And then we can figure out the mechanism, I think, later. But that's a good point. I'd like to have that option, especially share with Michelle and the select board.
Yeah.
That this might adhere better to them. town
And I
purchasing.
think it's really important.
Yeah.
To do the sod,
Yes.
I,
Okay, so in favor of the side.
yeah.
I can see recommending it as long as we take into account the purchasing policy and recommending it.
Mhm.
Okay. Okay, and folks know how I feel. Okay, can I have a motion for a vote to approve, to recommend the sod implementation in the one zone that Peter was talking about? I don't know if it has a number, Peter, that specific zone, but the zone next to the play area.
Does
So
have a
one-
number. I don't have it in front of me. I'm pretty sure it's 3, but, I
So just want
probably
to
wouldn't
say
read it.
the zone closest to the play area.
Yeah.
At 15,000 or less, depending on which mechanism we use. So, maybe if I can get
Yeah, I wouldn't put a super specific number.
So just-
It's somewhere in that $15,000 ballpark, but it ended up in 16. I would hate to be
all right, how about
locked into something.
I will, have a motion that the wastewater committee recommends sodding the one zone closest to the play area, as an either depending on which mechanism we use and add alt or a small purchase mechanism to buy the sod. And we're recommending that for the select board to approve, depending on which mechanism adheres to the town's purchasing policy. That,
Can I make a?
I think that sounds good, except for it won't be an add-all at this point. It'll be a change order.
change order, okay.
Adults go away once you sign the contract.
Okay,
Going forward, it's a change room.
okay, good to know. Get the lingo down. Okay. We have that roughly reflected in the notes, Tori. Just want to make sure we get the.
Paraphrase a little. Motion that wastewater committee recommends sodding area closest to the play structure as a change order via mechanism that adheres to town purchasing policy.
So it would still be just so I'm clear in language, it would still be a change order, even if we did a small purchase? No, change order or a small purchase mechanism, depending on which is more compatible with the town purchasing policy. I don't know if that's an extra step for you, Peter, or Minash, as far as getting 3 bids. Would that fall on you, Peter, or? Frozen?
Again.
We were frozen again. Wherever you were.
Yeah, that keeps happening tonight. I see the Wolcott BT admin has got red bars suggesting you're not super stable tonight. I was saying I could see benefits to doing it either way. And I was going to chat with Alex tomorrow because I know he's talked to some of the sod folks already. And then maybe we'll start that too, and then chat with Linda before she brings it to the select board. Does that make sense?
Okay. Tori, would you mind just reading that motion, please?
Sure, and maybe AI will get it better. Motion that wastewater committee recommends sodding area closest to play structure as change order or a small purchase, depending on which mechanism adheres to town purchasing policy.
Perfect. Thank you. All right, do we have a second?
I'll second.
Second from Alan. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passed. Okay, so we'll get, make sure we get that to the select board before their meeting tomorrow. I don't know if we can tack it onto, hopefully we can tack it onto your agenda.
They can probably add it in.
Alan, is Linda out of town and she'll be back for the meeting tomorrow, or?
She's at I think she's at an LCPC meeting, is it
Oh, yeah. Executive committee.
executive meeting?
You're stealing her, Tori?
I would assume she'd be there. And,
Yeah,
Okay,
and anyways, besides, I know that once that is approved and they do get the 3 bids and all that, it's gonna have to get approved anyways by the select board for the bills anyways for that. Anyways, so if you want to time it, that's probably the better way of putting it.
yeah, it seems like this needs to be approved as soon as possible so we can get that into Menashe's work plan.
yeah, I agree, that'd be best. I will plan on giving, Linda a ring tomorrow morning unless you want to, Jim.
Yeah, I can reach out to her, but Tori, if you could just send me the motion,
Sure, and Michelle too.
and Michelle, and then we'll just have that motion so that they can react to that.
If you get it to Michelle, you can make sure it gets mentioned tomorrow.
Okay, good, thank you.
Great.
So just a couple of follow-ups, Peter, to what you were just going over, related to the construction. That's excellent news on the school and doing all the zones and the principal being on board with everything, and that's all fantastic news. And then, so just so I'm understanding, as we were talking about it last month, starting at school, doing everything up there, working their way down the town forest right away. And so just as related to how much they could do before Thanksgiving. So we're just thinking it's just going to be the forced main, the pump station at the bottom of School Street, and then the forced main to the Lamar River is without the connections or possibly the connections on School Street, or would they do the forced main on School Street and then the force main on 15 and then do all the connections after all the force main is in? I'm just trying to understand which would be the sequence.
First I gotta say, I think it's funny, Bradley just had to jump off and he said that he votes whatever you vote on anything, Jim. So it's time for you to use your power and just do whatever you want with this project.
I gotta go authoritarian, I guess.
I don't think their scheduling and planning is that fine-tuned to be able to answer that question yet, to be honest. I think a lot of what came up in the pre-construction meeting, correct me, Cindy or Tori, if you heard something different, but a lot of what I heard was that they still need to like wrap their head around their sequencing. One of the challenges of the project, and one of the things we're still waiting to hear on is, and I don't think it's a huge challenge, but it is a challenge, is the sourcing of the tanks, and in particular, some of the larger tanks. So I think we'll know more in a couple of weeks when we start hearing from some of the tank vendors. Like specifically Camp is where I think they're talking about getting their large 10,000 gallon tanks for the school and down on the town forest property. They were feeling optimistic that they could get those towards the end of August, early September, but I don't think they've gotten any commitment from kind of what I'm gathering from Jimmy. So I actually don't have firsthand knowledge on how slammed or not slammed Camp is right now. But I will say I've certainly had that issue on other projects where these big tanks could have a reasonably long lead time. So the nice thing about the amount of force main they have to install is that I think they have plenty of stuff to do and can kind of work around when those tanks come. At the school, the biggest challenge
Oops.
Fiber optics are
This is that,
reliable.
maybe this is that tornado that's coming, supposed to come through.
Sometimes, maybe we could turn our camera off.
Yeah.
Okay, that would help.
So you're very good.
You lose Peter? Did we lost him? Would he just call back, come back in?
So I'm betting if they get down, on the tanks, at least they could force main, at least down the forest to where they gotta get to it down and then start from there once they put the tank, once they have the tanks and look at all that. And then if they get down here in the dirt, you're talking, then you should, assuming they gotta pressure test it anyways before they can connect onto it.
My thought is it might make more sense for them to do all the force main first, because if they have, they're gonna have to be in every house. And the force main seems like that might go quicker than.
It's a valve. It's just the force main. They just get the force main and they can always, I'm sure that means a valve on all of those. You get the force main under the road, the valve shut. Because if they gotta pressure test that before they can actually hook houses on, they can at least put it in,
Just the force main.
just the force main. Then hook
With the
connect.
with the stubs, or they do the stubs as they go along.
If there's a valve for every house on there, they have to hook on, they keep the valve shut and then hook. Once they pressure test it, I'm assuming.
Try to call.
Fiber optic is supposed to be so much more better.
We're on fiber optic here.
Yeah. Everyone wants fiber optic, you can't use Starlink, it's evil. It would still be working.
So this Starlink's been disconnected.
No, it's on there, you pay the basic just in case.
With the back.
Because last time they had to go pay the fee to go do it, so you could have your select board meeting because the fiber optic had been out for like 5 days.
Awesome.
Hi Linda, can you hear us? I think you're muted.
Peter,
Okay, I'm here.
Is that Peter too? Oh, thank you. Welcome back, Peter. We've been having some internet issues, Linda, so we turned our camera off.
Hi.
Peter, we turned our camera off, Peter. Just hopefully
Okay.
that might work a little bit better.
It might have been me too. It was appearing as though I had no internet for a few minutes. So I don't know what's going on.
Linda has joined us
Linda.
on Zoom, and
Hi.
just Linda, quick catch up here. Peter was just going over this. We went over the pre-construction meeting, detailed what's happening at the school, and I'm very excited. We're gonna get everything done this summer at the school. We did have a vote, that the wastewater committee is recommending to the select board to approve the installation of sod just on one zone of one of the 6 zones. And the one closest to the play area. And so we're hoping to bring that could be brought up at the select board meeting tomorrow. And there were 2 mechanisms to do that. And one is a change order. And one would be a small purchase that Cindy brought up. That's another mechanism where you get 3 bids from 3 different local sod suppliers, which might be less than the 15,000 that Peter's estimated.
Linda, the additional
Who's
background.
gonna do the RFP? Who's gonna do the RFP to get the 3 bids?
It's a letter request for quotes, Linda.
It's in the what?
It's a letter request for quotations. Typically, the engineer does it.
All right, okay.
Linda, we can chat a little bit more about that tomorrow, or I know Alex had already reached out to some of the sod suppliers in the area. So I wanted to check with him tomorrow and just see what he thought. And I also wanted to maybe review what the other sod prices were per square yard or whatever in our bid results. And then we can talk about the procurement. I did, just so you know, Linda, this was sort of based on my recommendation on the sod. And I had a meeting with Kate and Joe Houston yesterday. And at the kind of conclusion of that meeting, I felt like the money spent to do the sod was going to go a long way in sort of good faith and giving them a decent area there where the kids can be playing. And I think in general, the rest of the committee sort of agreed that that was a good approach, was to try to keep them happy. So.
It's fine. I just wondered why the select board's involved.
That's a great question. And that's maybe a question for you. They don't, from my perspective, I was just kind of reading the room and the way we left it at the contract recommendation when they agreed to hire Minash. And I was sort of trying to get them to
Oh, right.
give
Yeah, I
you the
remember
power to
now.
make
I
these
remember.
decisions for small
Yeah, I
changes.
remember.
And they didn't really seem
Yeah.
to want to do that. But
Okay. Yeah, you refreshed my memory. I remember now.
personally, I think the project's going to go a lot smoother if they could just give you that power, maybe up to a certain dollar
Yeah.
amount or something, because there's going to be other change orders. It seems a little crazy that they need to be involved with every one, but
Right.
it doesn't matter too much to me. It's just an extra thing that you guys have
Well,
to
we've
deal with.
already approached them and they already made a decision, so I guess we got to go back to them.
Okay.
It's too late.
Okay.
Them being who?
The select board.
Oh, the select board, okay. Okay, so Linda, we were just talking about the sequencing and before we kind of lost internet and lost Peter. And so starting at school, getting everything done at school, and working our way down the town forest with the force main down to School Street, and then we're working on School Street, and we were just discussing whether we continue on do the force main first on School Street at 15 and then hook up. And so, but it sounds like Minash isn't ready to make that decision yet. They need more time to figure that part out. The reason I asked that question is as we started to talk about at our last meeting, I'd like to do a front porch forum post. And I could keep it pretty general at this point and just say that construction is going to start next week up at the school, and we're going to start at the school and work our way down to School Street and not get into the specifics of whether we're hooking up houses immediately. Landowners are going to need
Well,
plenty
we
of.
cannot hook up. This is the part that's making me the most nervous. And I said it at the bid, contract signing. Until we get this committee up and running and they hire a project manager to oversee the indirect permit testing, there's no hookup. They can't have any hookup. So we have really got to get that committee together and get them organized and get them hiring an operator before any hookup. So
And
don't even think about it.
I
'Cause I'm
agree
not
with
gonna
you.
let you.
I agree 100%, Linda. And for what it's worth, as I work with Minash and have these discussions, I'm not going to steer them towards any hookups till next spring, March, April, whenever sort of they're able to start really getting in backyards and snow's gone and frost is gone. But because there's another whole layer of this which revolves around establishing vegetation on the other zones, and time will tell how that ends up doing through the fall. But ideally, you have like 2 growing seasons before you're really putting a lot of wastewater through it in the winter. So if there's a compelling reason why they need to be hooking up this fall or into the winter, I'm all ears, but I also think they have plenty of other work to do that we don't necessarily need to be doing that.
Yeah, that's what I was saying before we lost connection. I would personally rather see the force main go through and do all the hookups later next year. If they're going, it sounds like they're ready to go guns blasting here with construction. So they may be doing more than we're anticipating at a faster rate. So maybe they could, if it makes sense from a construction perspective, Cindy and Peter, I'll point to do the force main on School Street, to hook up the bridge and go on 15, and then next spring we'll be doing all the individual hookups and tanks and everything else, if that makes sense from a construction phasing perspective. And
that's
then
certainly the way I've always envisioned it.
Yeah.
So hopefully they end up kind of going that route. The only complicating factor is, as you push later into the fall, if they want to keep going, there is a time in the season when, all the pavement plants shut down or it becomes just harder to be doing construction on a main highway like Route 15. But
Well, they've got to connect to the bridge. They've got to build that other bridge by the Wolcott store. They got stuff they can
there's
do.
a lot to do. Yeah, exactly. And the schedule they've provided to date is pretty rough and not really all that complete. So I think we can continue to have this conversation in the next couple months as we see how it's evolving.
So maybe I'll relate it to the next agenda item on. I really have been eager to get a front porch forum post out to update people. It's been a long time since we updated people. Did it freeze again? Oh, they're back. So
And
you guys
they're back.
froze again. How about I'll send it out to folks later this week. a draft, and if folks want to just comment, I'll try to keep it as simple as possible, as generic as possible, but just, I want to give some positive news and get it out. I mean, this is I'm very excited where we are, and that we're seeing construction starting in less than a week. So this is very exciting after all the time that we've collectively put into this project. And, I think we all need to celebrate that. And I would like the public, and especially the residents in town, to know about what we're doing. And we'll keep it as simple and as generic as possible, but just put some good news out, and at the same time, recruit for more commissioners. That's be a good recruiting tool. So Linda and I chatted briefly earlier today, and I thought it would be a good idea to do a press release as well. And I guess someone took a picture of somebody used to need to take a picture of the agreement signing. Someone took a picture.
Yeah, I did.
But maybe we can use that as send it to the Harvard Gazette and the News and Citizen and. Sorry.
Well, I'll just add that LCPC spoke with the News and Citizen yesterday about the new brownfields grant we were awarded.
Oh, okay.
And the reporter also mentioned interest in writing a story about announcing start of construction.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So we could,
Feedback. Yeah. That'd be great.
Who is that? What paper?
News and Citizen.
Which
Oh,
report? Which?
But they never write what you say.
Well,
Do
we
you
do
have
a-
press release?
If we do a
Never.
press, if we do a press release, can't they? They'll have to.
No, they can't touch it.
Can't touch it. Yes. So he wants to do a story, not a press release.
Yes, so if you want your words in there, I guess you should do that.
Can we do both?
Yeah.
Do you know what the reporter's name?
Patrick. His name's Patrick.
Okay. So how would I'll do the Front Porch Forum announcement. Should I do the press release, or does it make sense for someone else to do the press release? I'll send out drafts.
I'll give it a stab, but we'll have to be next week. This is a horrible week for me.
All right, how about if I get the Front Porch Forum out this week, and then we'll work on the press release for when's the deadline for next week's? Is it Wednesday? For News and Citizen?
I usually do the Monday before,
Or Monday the week before?
like, if you
Oh,
want
what?
next Thursday's paper, I would send anything to them by Monday.
Okay.
at noon.
Can you do it by Monday, Linda?
Probably.
All right, I'll take a stab at the Front Porch Forum, and Linda's gonna take a stab at the press release, and I'll get Front Porch Forum out later this week, and we'll get the press release out next week for the Gazette and the News and Citizen.
You are gonna get a really nice 8-foot by 4-foot sign, project sign,
Oh, good. And when does that,
which usually within the first month.
where should we put it?
Well, there was discussion about putting it here,
Just right in this.
Yeah.
office here.
here. So your ratepayers, your taxpayers can see it.
Yeah, that'd be great. We're cruising right along on our agenda here.
Just us again, Linda.
What's that? Did I miss? Did you say something, Peter?
No, I thought I lost you guys.
Oh. Linda, do you want to share the news about the wastewater commissioners recruitment?
Right, so we have definitely one select board member, Alan.
Well,
We have,
technology.
another one, so basically we